This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and/or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
This episode may contain explicit language. Welcome to the last Mom and Dad Are Fighting for 2023. If you haven't heard, starting in 2024, we're going to be called Care and Feeding.
Don't worry, we will still be here figuring out how to raise the next generation and take care of ourselves while doing so. You'll still hear triumphs and fails and recommendations and advice from the three of us. But we're also excited to bring you even more great advice from our colleagues across Slate.
So send your burning parenting questions to careandfeedingpod@slate.com and look for Care and Feeding in your feeds. If you're subscribed or following the show, that shouldn't change even after we change names. But if you lose track of us, just search for Care and Feeding wherever you listen.
All right, on to today's episode. It's a time-tested tradition around here to revisit our favorite Slate Plus moments and bring them out from behind the curtain, so to speak. Slate Plus members get a bonus segment like the ones we're about to play every single week. Plus, they listen ad-free. So if you want to become a Slate Plus member, sign up now at slate.com/momanddadplus. Here's the show.
All right, Slate Plus listeners. So a lot of us parents with school-age children are coming off of winter break, or we might still be on it. My kid doesn't go back till next week. And we thought we'd check in and compare notes about how it's going or how it went. So did y'all get up to anything that felt novel or just helpful in this time off?
The only thing I'd say that was helpful is that I took off most of Naima's break time myself. She gets 3 weeks off. She spent a week with her dad. They went to Egypt. It was very cool for her. But that first week, she was with me most of those days. And usually, I did have some work to do. I couldn't completely go the whole week without working. But for the most part, I just kind of took off and was present for her. We watched movies and we played Barbies and gave each other facials and just had a lot of fun. And generally, usually I call myself still trying to work, and do things around the house mostly when she's got that downtime because I'm like, it's not downtime for me. And it just really doesn't work. I'm not terribly productive. I can't say I'm getting much done, so I just gave in. We'll see how this week goes. She's going to be with me through Wednesday during the day and then do Thursday and Friday during the day with her dad. Can we just talk about how long these breaks are, though? Like,
so long.
3 weeks is a really long time for any family to have to figure out childcare, if folks work in offices, have deadlines and things that can't be moved. Like, I don't know. I know the teachers deserve 3 weeks off, but
right.
Oh boy.
It is a long time.
One of my friends was posting something about like real time off versus like paid time off. And this idea that like the company itself would say like, okay, well, this is 2 weeks of like real time off. Like we're not sending emails. We're not like the company as a whole is taking a break. It's not that you're off, but things are still chugging forward. But like to really take that break and be present with your families, so that you don't come back with 500 emails that you haven't looked at and that need addressed. Feels like a pipe dream, but sounds nice.
Yeah.
I had family in town, so I utilized them as much as possible to try to get the kids that like one-on-one time that I think in our house is so often craved because, it's usually 3-on-1 with me during the day or maybe 3-on-2 or, sometimes when we are homeschooling with our other family, 6 kids and 2 adults with the other mom. And so I just really tried to set up situations where like Henry and my mom could like work on a puzzle together, which is something they really like in a room without other kids, right? Like my dad could play chess with Teddy. Like he just wants to play these chess games, which is sometimes hard if I'm managing 2 other kids. I might sit down and play with him or Jeff will play with him, but we have other kids kind of running around. So just taking advantage of trying to get each of the kids to do their stuff. Jeff took Teddy skiing. He is we like to go skiing. I don't ski, but the kids like to go skiing. Jeff likes to ski, but Teddy is like the most enthusiastic. And so we just thought like, okay, this is a really easy time to like have the two of them go up with another set of friends to go skiing. Another dad and his daughter, and the four of them had a great time skiing together without having to worry about like where the other kids are and who is having a good time. And like, because Teddy is like the sitting at lunch, like, you know, like when do we hit the slopes again? And so often we're kind of like, well, we can't because so-and-so doesn't want to go, or the, you know, trudging in your boots, like all of that. They had a great time. I also save up, like we get a couple subscription boxes of crafts and stuff. And I try to save those because I think they're so great for these break times, particularly when like my parents and sister are in town. They're like really easy to hand them a box and be like, can you do this with the kids, right? Like everything is there. They don't need anything from me. It all comes in the kit. And all they have to do is kind of supervise the activity, which again, I just sometimes don't have the time or energy to like really dive in with them about it. So they had a great time with all of that. And then, of course, as soon as they left, we got on a plane and went somewhere else. So I,
of course you did.
Dealt with it by, how did I deal with the third week? By leaving.
There you go. We too did a good amount of crafts, and by we I mean Shira and our friend's parent who was traveling with us. She actually brought this crafting project up north where we were, where it's like you kind of just cut a metal hanger and open it up, and then you can like string beads on it and like feathers and various strings, and it's like just this kind of like cool thing just to hang up when you're done with it. That kept the kids busy for a couple hours. We also broke in our Buddha boards, which Elizabeth, you recommended to me at one point. That's the really basic just board that comes with a paintbrush. You just add water and it just disappears after a little while, so it's like no cleanup, really chill. And actually Ami and Noah both got into that. We watched a lot of movies, and maybe one of the most exciting things that we did, Noah, my 5-year-old, and then our friend's 5-year-old who was traveling with us, we started our first chapter book. We started James and the Giant Peach, which wow. I don't remember being so goddamn scary.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was kind of live editing as I read, but in the first page, James's parents get eaten by a rhinoceros.
Oh no!
And by the third page, his evil aunts are literally beating him. Those are the language used. So I had to change that. So I was like, whoa. However, that dude could write. It is so evocative and weird and beautiful. And so with just some adjustments, we're through like 30 pages, but this is very exciting for us that we have a book, that she's following the story, that we're going to read it kind of night after night, that there actually are a couple pictures, but not many. This was big. I kind of brought the book up north, not actually thinking it would work. And when it did, it was very exciting.
Can I say that any read aloud, I think you're like, when you start reading aloud to your kids, is when you realize like, oh gosh, books in general are really scary. Like things you never thought about because you didn't remember that part. But that was like my first takeaway when we started really doing read alouds, was like, oh boy, like, can they handle this? And then just realizing that there's something so different about reading the words and versus like them seeing a movie in which this happens, and how each of your kids like interpret and picture what's happening. Because to us, beating is like something we've seen, right? We've like seen it in movies, we've seen it in, but like to kids, what does beat, like you could beat a drum, you could beat just kind of realizing like, oh gosh, they can take a lot more in these books, and this is a good like introduction to some of that stuff that we've sheltered them from, than they can in like a more visual or real form.
I mean, I did replace beating with getting, so his aunts got him. I don't know if that's any better, but
I replace words all like sometimes because I'm kind of reading ahead. I'm like, oh, don't really want to talk about this today. For another day.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, do you guys, I know, Jamila, you said you have one more full week. Zach, do you have another full
This
week?
is the last week. And fortunately, Noah is at her aunt's house today. I'm going to take her tomorrow. Shira's going to take her Thursday, and then she's going to go to a friend's on Friday. So it actually worked out nicely. Though she did start complaining about her ear again today, so she might have another ear infection.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're a week away from going back to school.
All right, Slate Plus listeners, we wanted to take a moment to talk about the youngest photographers in our houses. The inspiration for this segment came from an article in Romper called How They See Us, the Humbling Tyranny of the Pictures Our Children Take of Us. The author, Samantha Shanley, talks about how the images are unflattering and don't necessarily help your self-confidence at first, but are perhaps a gift in terms of authenticity. So do you guys kids take a lot of pictures of you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I've banned it. I don't Naima's taking pictures of me that were so bad that she just knows now not to take my picture.
I find the kids flipping through on their tablets, they'll be listening to something and flipping through photos, and there are just pictures they've taken throughout the day. Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's and the article goes on to talk about how the initial thought that we have when we see these pictures is, I'm just going to delete this. It's unusable. How would I ever let anyone see these? But I think the thesis here is that actually these pictures are kind of truer, than the beautifully lit, stuff that you're excited to post on Instagram. These instead capture something, real and kind of off kilter. Often, because they're taken by our kids, they're at a terrible angle where we will inevitably have multiple chins in the pictures, an eye closed, there's going to be some blur in them, and to kind of treat them as this raw documentary form of photography rather than just a disposable, I can't ever share this. And so this author actually shared some of hers and started to collect some from others. And I know we have a bunch from our kids. And just to think of it as this is how my kid sees me. My kid doesn't, my kid sees me with their boogers on my shirt and, egg on my face and, hair unbrushed. In a way, this is really the real us in ways that a lot of our other photographs are not. Warts and all.
The photos my kids have of me are definitely a more accurate picture of our life. When we were traveling and I forgot the suitcase, one of the kids wanted to take a picture of me crying in the elevator. I just was so overwhelmed about how to get back. And so they have this picture. But honestly, I sent that to Jeff as here's how the trip's going, and I would have never been take a picture of this moment. And then he took another one of me being reunited with the suitcase, But I mean, they capture me carrying all of the stuff in, all of these things that I sort of forget that I do for the family. And they've taken a picture of it. Here's mom refusing to make a second trip. And I don't think they're taking a picture of it. They just think it's fun to take a picture. They, my hand, the ones they take a lot when we're in the car, and my hand reaching back with something while I'm driving, just those moments where I'm there's all this stuff that I do. And now it's captured. Is it flattering? No. Am I at all together? No.
My friend recently took it one step further, and she gave her kid her phone, and her 3-year-old used the video and was just walking around the house taking video. And that's even more fascinating to see what it is that our kids' eyes are drawn toward. And the video actually can kind of give you a real sense of what your world looks like to your kids. I've actually been meaning to do that. Go just capture the next 10 minutes and look at it a year from now. It would probably be pretty interesting.
I think that is a very cool idea. I do wish that I had more pictures and video that Naima had captured herself, especially when she was younger. Not necessarily pictures of me, but just of, our lives and our experiences.
Yeah. And these photos, the author isn't arguing we should be posting these photos, we should be proud of these. It's rather no, this is just another way to kind of look at, interior worlds that we don't often show to anyone else.
They are fun to share with your bestie. I feel that's who I send them to.
Totally.
It's my other mom friends. How's your day going? I don't know. I just think they're fun. The amount where I'm like, I'm like half dressed and they need me to do something and I come around the corner and they've taken a picture. And it's like the absurdity of it, right? Like to them that this thing was such an emergency that, like I just responded without fully getting myself together.
I wish I wasn't so traumatized by bad pictures of myself. I'm also camera shy, so I generally avoid pictures, taken by professionals. So Naima just doesn't have my vote of confidence. But I always thought that as she got older, she would get better at it. I look forward to being able to get her to take pictures of me that I could post. Maybe she can start doing my hair and makeup too. These are things that
life goals
that I have for her.
No, when Zach and I met up, I asked the kids to take our photo and we did get one good one, but it's
we got a good one.
There's a bunch of us getting ready to take the photo and then a bunch of me headed towards the camera to take it back away. That's enough.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break. Be back in a minute.
This episode is brought to you by EveryPlate. Hoping to budget your food expenses this holiday season? Get more bang for your bite with America's best value meal kit. EveryPlate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping with no hidden fees, so you can add more items to your cart for delicious holiday meals. Plus, only pay for what you need with pre-portioned ingredients. So I consider myself a connoisseur of the vegetarian sandwich. I'm always looking for new ideas, new combinations. I can thank EveryPlate for the most recent iteration that I was delighted by. It was their charred zucchini and tomato melts. So what came in my pre-portioned box is a zucchini, fresh mozzarella, sourdough bread, shredded pepper jack cheese, garlic, a tomato, sweet potato for sweet potato fries, and so good. Because a grilled cheese is always delightful, but if you add some zag to that cheese in the form of zucchini, it's going to work out great, and it'll get your kids to eat vegetables if they have a hard time doing so. It was delicious. Crossing off your to-do list ahead of this holiday season, get EveryPlate and take back your time with fewer trips to the grocery store and meals ready in 6 simple steps. They plan the meals and deliver pre-portioned ingredients right to your door so you can spend less time meal prepping and more time resting and relaxing over the holidays. Choose EveryPlate over takeout to save money while still enjoying fresh, satisfying meals. Their meals are 50% cheaper than your average fast casual meal. They're the easiest way to eat affordably. Put the money you save toward making holiday plans. Get started with EveryPlate for just $1.49 per meal plus $1 steaks by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49momandDad. That's $1.49 per meal plus $1 steaks by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49momandDad. That's up to a $110 value. This episode is brought to you by EveryPlate. Hoping to budget your food expenses this holiday season? Get more bang for your bite with America's best value meal kit. EveryPlate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping with no hidden fees, so you can add more items to your cart for delicious holiday meals. Plus, only pay for what you need with pre-portioned ingredients. So I consider myself a connoisseur of the vegetarian sandwich. I'm always looking for new ideas, new combinations. I can thank EveryPlate for the most recent iteration that I was delighted by. It was their charred zucchini and tomato melts. So what came in my pre-portioned box is a zucchini, fresh mozzarella, sourdough bread, shredded pepper jack cheese, garlic, a tomato, sweet potato for sweet potato fries, and so good. Because a grilled cheese is always delightful, but if you add some zag to that cheese in the form of zucchini, it's going to work out great, and it'll get your kids to eat vegetables if they have a hard time doing so. It was delicious. Crossing off your to-do list ahead of this holiday season, get EveryPlate and take back your time with fewer trips to the grocery store and meals ready in 6 simple steps. They plan the meals and deliver pre-portioned ingredients right to your door so you can spend less time meal prepping and more time resting and relaxing over the holidays. Choose EveryPlate over takeout to save money while still enjoying fresh, satisfying meals. Their meals are 50% cheaper than your average fast casual meal. They're the easiest way to eat affordably. Put the money you save toward making holiday plans. Get started with EveryPlate for just $1.49 per meal plus $1 steaks by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code $1.49 Mom and Dad. That's $1.49 per meal plus $1 steaks by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49 Mom and Dad. That's up to a $110 value. All right, Slate Plus listeners. Another Slate podcast, What Next TBD, recently had an episode titled When Your Childhood Was Their Content. The episode focused on privacy issues that are coming up. As the first generation to have their childhood documented on social media, without their consent, starts to have a voice. It got us thinking. So, first of all, I think everyone should go back and listen to this episode. But for those that didn't listen, can one of you bring us up to date here?
Yeah, so the episode starts off really heartbreaking. Listening to a young woman testify about the harm done to her by her mom sharing essentially every moment of her life on social media. And I'm talking about like from potty training to like a traumatic car accident in which she felt like instead of someone being there for her, it was taped. And she talks about how that has affected her entire life and that she doesn't even use her given name anymore. So we're sort of confronted off the bat with what I would consider sort of worst case scenario and asked to think about what happens as these kids who parents shared their entire lives without understanding social media, because social media was new, and understanding what having your life out there would look like. What do they do now? And how do they get this stuff off the internet? And comparing that with those of us who are, elder millennials, who the embarrassing stuff on the internet was stuff we put there. We still have control of it. We put it there. But there is now a generation of stuff other people put out there about people. And what control do these kids have, and what harm is it doing? And really looking at the balance between the benefits of being able to share the journey of motherhood on social media and what that brings to a parent or a grandparent versus like, what do we owe these kids in terms of what's out there, and how really complicated this is, because in the original days of sort of Facebook and then to some extent Instagram, it was about sharing these things with a small group that maybe you curated or just people that you were friends with. And it's evolution now to TikTok and algorithms whose goal it is to push this out to the most amount of people possible. And like, what violation is that for their kids? I don't know. I found it very thought-provoking in terms of like my behavior, changing my behavior, the benefits to me, what are the costs to the kids, like really looking at this, and also considering like all of these viral videos that maybe we see on TikTok, Instagram shared of children that we think are funny, but then like what happens to them, when we all watch this kid potty train and now they're 18.
Yeah, they kept using this phrase digital coming of age.
Yeah.
Which is just like this new thing that we're reckoning with. It actually made me think of us and this show. Like, there's a reason why hosts age out of here, because their kids get to the point where they're like, Mom, Dad, I don't want you talking about this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically like the conversation that we all need to be having with our kids. Like, to what extent are you comfortable with me posting these cute pictures of you? And like, if you're not comfortable with it, like, as parents, I think we need to be ready to respect the rights of our kids and be like, oh, fine, I'll take it down. Like, I apologize. Or I know a lot of parents who already will go to their kids and ask them permission before they post something, which I think is a really nice practice. What did it make you two think about kind of how you, because I know all three of us post stuff about our kids on Instagram at least.
It made me grateful that I sort of slowed down when I did. I used to post Naima. I mean, I also just used to be more present on social media myself, and until around when Naima was about 6, when we moved to LA, I just didn't feel compelled to document our lives in that way anymore. Naima really enjoyed being a social media kid, but I think part of it is that I always, from when she was old enough to be aware of it, I included her in the process, so I showed her the posts. I show her all the nice comments that people left for her. She likes knowing that she has fans. There are people, that are interested in her. And, But also she started saying, I don't like that. I don't want you to post that, you know? And so now everything is posted with her permission. So I think one thing that you can do from a pretty early age, if you want to share that, you know, share kid related content, let them see it, let them be a part of it, you know? And if you start, you know, if you're posting when they're a baby and when they're 4 and 5, by the time they're 6 or 7, they'll start to have opinions, you know, about like what they want posted. I think it's also a matter of what you post. You know what I mean? Because like that car accident story was crazy. You know what I mean? Like the idea of
that was an extreme.
It's an extreme example,
case,
you know, but there's a lot of that. And I'm constantly seeing TikToks of parents that are, you know, humiliating or embarrassing their kids or talking about punishments, you know, like your child gets in trouble. That's not a time to create content. You know what I mean? That's a time for you all to deal with something as a family. And if you, you know, it gets dicey because, again, we shared some of those stories on here. We share stories about our kids not always behaving their best. But this is a little different because you can't see them, you know.
It's slightly harder to tie it to them in the way that, you know, like the woman at the beginning can't hide from it. Like people know who she is by how she looks and how she sounds, and seems very traumatic.
Yeah.
And was that the same person whose period was documented by their parents?
Yes, same.
Like this is, and her MRSA virus.
Yes.
Like this was the host asks this question at the end of the What Next podcast, like what's like the worst thing that can happen here? And it's like this woman who is testifying is really like, I think, an outlier. I think like most parents are like posting a cute picture of their kids at their birthday parties and not taking it to this extreme. But I guess that's also, who am I to say? There might be a ton of other examples of kind of serial documenters of sharenting.
I saw a TikTok the other day. It was so disturbing. This woman has a daughter who doesn't like wearing girly clothes. And she, you know, pans the camera over to like some kind of hamper or something where her daughter removed all her dresses from her closet and hid them in this hamper. And so she, you know, they've got like an Easter Best event coming up at school where they have to get all dressed up, you know, and she was kind of like panicked, like, what are you going to wear? All your dresses are missing, you know. And so what she did was she packed up all her kids' clothes, the clothes that she likes to wear, hid them in her own closet.
Oh, God.
And replaced it with just the girly dresses. You know, and she said
and made a post about this.
And said dad was on board and this is what they were going to do for a week. She was going to have nothing to wear but girly dresses, you know. So I think a lot of it is just the awful behavior of the parents. You know, it's like they're documenting things that shouldn't be done.
To be viral, though, like, and then they find success in it being shared so many times. I think for those of us that are, let's say, quote unquote, like normal posting, what I took away was this idea that like, even if the kids give consent now, that I need to be the one open and communicating about the fact that they can revoke that consent in the future. And because I posted it, I need to be the one to take it down. Because I mean, I, you know, blog about what we do and what has worked and what hasn't and things that have gone wrong. And I talk about it with the kids and they suggest things and they often pick the pictures we're going to use. But this idea that like the consent of my 9-year-old when he is 16 may decide that like he doesn't want the photo of, you know, us doing a diaper change, even though we're far away, but we say like, here we are changing Oliver's diaper, like in the middle of this plaza. He might decide that that for him is traumatic and that I need to like have maintained an open line of communication for that because it shouldn't necessarily be his burden to come to me and say like, take all this down. But in the event that that happens, that my reaction shouldn't be like, but I was sharing this for this reason, but instead to be like, yes, if you are bothered by this, then it needs to come down. But I do see how complex that gets as we get into like grandparents sharing things. And they bring up the like value of social media and connecting us, and particularly for stay-at-home parents who are not really given any feedback, right? Like one of the ways to get like your child is your is your thing. For better or worse, this is the proof of how you are parenting, because we don't provide anything else.
And how hard you're working.
And you know, when you're not posting, people think something is wrong, which I know is like a societal issue. But to not participate in this at all also has consequences. And so, like, how do we make this nice balance, right?
Yeah.
I really think letting your kid be part of the posting process is just so useful. You know, like, you want to teach them about social media anyway. You know, you want them to have some familiarity, so it's not this thing that they're, you know, in the dark about and, you know, susceptible to becoming really consumed by when they get older. You know, let them be a part of it. You know, say, this was really cute, I want to share it. Is that okay with you? You know, like, do you want to make a video for TikTok? That'd be fun. Let it be something that you all do together.
All right, Slate Plus listeners, we thought it'd be fun to share a few social media accounts we are loving right now. There's so much like mindless stuff out there that I waste my time on. I am excited to learn from you two, Elizabeth and Jamila, what is actually adding to your life. So what do you got?
I have one for Jamila that I think it came up, you know, your phone's always listening. I had my phone in here when we were recording about all the board games and talking about them. And then I opened up Instagram, was getting like referrals for this, you know, and it's like bringing it up in your reels to try. So I clicked on it because it's this couple and they're playing all of these board games, and it turns out they are delightful. They're called the Board Game Couple, and they're at games, then the number 4, and then TWO. But what I love about it is they play a segment of the game on their reel, so you can see it and be like, oh yeah, this is something we would play, or this is something we would not play. They only do games for 2. I just find them very amusing, but also just like seems very helpful for those of us looking for those games for 2 people. So they're a new follow for me, but I'm very much enjoying them. And the minute it came up, I was like, this is for Jamila needs this. She can watch the people play. She can see if it's a dud before she makes the trip to Target.
Great. What's one from you, Jamila?
So I have to admit that at this point in my life, I do not do a lot of social media for self-care reasons. It's not good for my mental health. But one account that I'm loving is Single Black Motherhood. The owner's name is Kim. I'm not sure her last name, but she talks about single mom life, travel, and money, and helping single moms live their best lives. She organizes retreats. She posts a lot of information about financial independence and self-care. You know, single moms, here's what you need to know about therapy. Single moms, did you know wash and fold service is affordable? She's really dope. And she posts a lot of affirmations. So I think that's a really good account. It's, you know, single Black motherhood, but I think any single parent would benefit from it.
The first one I want to share is one that Noah and I enjoy together. It is a food Instagram account. It's by the cook Owen Han, Owenhan. And the whole account is just him making the most delicious looking sandwiches you've ever seen. It often starts with like a crusty ciabatta, and then it goes from there. They're very short, very well produced, and very mouthwatering. I've talked before about Men with a Pot, another food account that is this Polish guy cooking in the forest. We're now more excited about Owen Han. We usually watch like 4 sandwich videos worth, which takes like 2 minutes. Tasty, tasty, tasty. What's your next one, Elizabeth?
So I am sort of the, I think, opposite of Jamila here in that I have curated my, my Instagram feed. I feel like I open for just like inspiration and the daily dose of like some advice or just kind of those parenting things to put away in the back of my brain. And I've really been loving sex positive families, and it's at sexpositive_families. And this account is just full of book recommendations, how to be having these sex conversations with your kids at all levels. It has really, made me think about how I even talk about sex and talk about sex related things, even to the 6-year-old, right? Like to just
kids and how we're handling that as a family. And I just really love getting a little, hit of this so that I realize too that this isn't like a sit down and have the conversation, but that I'm constantly planting the seeds about being sex positive. And so I've just been really enjoying that account. It's fun, particularly if you're someone that is like not sure how you want to handle this. I think it's a great way to start getting your own parent brain to start saying, oh yeah, this is something we can be talking about all the time. And just realizing how many times sex positive stuff comes up really naturally with your kids, like just stuff that's happening in your house or talking. And this is a good opportunity for me to just drop in these little seeds so that we can have these larger conversations, and so that sex isn't something that is like not talked about in our house.
Looking at it right now, this looks great. One of the posts is a simple quote. It says, "Consent is a life skill that should be practiced long before it has anything to do with sex." Lots of great stuff here. Jamila, you got another one?
One more. Another single Black moms account, Good Moms, Bad Choices. It's Good Moms _bad choices. These two very cool moms, Jamila and Erica, who are besties, and they're both raising young daughters. And they live the life that I wish that I was living. Just sexy and fun and dating and traveling and just doing all the cool things, kind of like I was a few years ago. They just are having a blast and really killing single motherhood. And I think it's very inspirational.
One more. This is from the writer Amy McNee. The account on Instagram is called Inspired to Write. And her description is it's a space for all those who create. And Amy's an author and creativity coach. And it's just filled with like these handwritten affirmations that I need to be reminded of all the time. For example, I grieve all the art not made because, quote, it doesn't make money, so what's the point? Or to the creative who is perpetually in this nearly finished but not quite phase, dare to call it complete. No, it will not be perfect. No, it doesn't need to be. So just these little things like that, if you are a creative person, you probably need to hear.
You all need to follow A Daily Cloud. It's literally at A Daily Cloud. And this person takes pictures of clouds and doodles over them. And it is the most fantastic thing. It's like being a kid, but also watching someone really talented make clouds into things. It's lovely.
Amazing.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Heidecker. You know me, Tim and Eric, Bridesmaids, and Fantastic Four. I'd like to personally invite you to listen to Office Hours Live with me and my co-hosts, DJ Doug Pound.
Hello.
And Vic Berger.
Howdy.
Every week we bring you laughs, fun, games, and lots of other surprises. It's live. We take your Zoom calls.
Music.
We love having fun. Excuse me?
Songs. Vic said something.
Songs.
Music.
I like having fun. I like to laugh. I like to meet people who can make me laugh. Please subscribe now.
We all need advice sometimes.
Right? Someone to say, I get it. I've been there too.
But often it's hard to know where to turn, which is where we come in. Hi, I'm Carvel Wallace.
And I'm Courtney Martin. We're both authors and journalists who love finding solutions to problems.
Every week on Slate's How To podcast, a listener comes on our show to receive advice from a world-class expert.
We've covered everything from parents with radically different politics to people learning to love their insecurities.
We've helped listeners breathe better, sleep better, and even have better sex.
Speaking of sex, we're all getting screwed by a warming planet. So we've also learned how to cope with climate change and how to say goodbye to our pets.
Life is messy and complicated, but we're all in this together, so let's help each other.
Look for How To from Slate wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, Slate Plus listeners. We ran across a list of parenting trends for 2023 in Metro Parent, and that got us to thinking about parenting trends we would like to see in 2023, or perhaps ones that we hope will go away. Zach or Elizabeth, what trends do you think will be popular this year?
I don't know how much of a finger I have on the pulse of parenting reality, but I hope that we go back to kind of like unstructured outdoor time, more game nights, back to those more simple things to take some of the pressure off parenting. I feel like we sampled some of that in the craziness that was COVID, but on top of all of the other things we had to do. And then it was like, we came out of COVID and we wanted to do all the things, right? Like, how do we do all this? How do we do it safely? We're like negotiating that. I hope that we have reached some point where we just say like, okay, I want to take the things that I found really joyful and that were simple and didn't take a whole lot of planning. And I want to leave behind a lot of the stuff that stressed me out.
So that's written about in this piece,
Yeah.
the simplification. And the other point that was made that I appreciate is letting go of the shoulds, supposed tos, and have tos. Like, don't do that stuff, all the stuff that we do just because, aren't we supposed to be doing this? I love that. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but totally let go of that. And I have one thing. This is a hot take, and I'm nervous to say it because I might actually be offending the people on the call. I'm not sure what your annual ritual is. And this is more of an indictment on my family's inability to do this thing than the people who do this thing year after year. But I think it's got to stop. The holiday card.
Ah.
Okay.
We don't do it. Do you, Jamila, do you send one?
I haven't done one in years.
We haven't done one in years. I can't get it together. But here's the thing. I love getting them.
What do you do with them?
Oh my gosh, Zach. I have a million things you can do with them. Could be a whole nother
You actually
segment.
have an answer to this. Of course you do.
Okay, I hang them up in the house, but then you know what I do? Okay, this is the thing I do that I love the most. I take a picture of them and I assign them to the contacts in my phone.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Elizabeth.
You're the reason the holiday card won't die.
I take all the blame here.
Oh my
I don't
God.
send them, but I love them. I love them so
You
much. I
chronicle
hear you
them.
though.
We have Instagram. I see your
Yeah,
family
okay,
all the
totally,
time.
no.
You're beautiful. I love
Fair.
seeing you in public. I love seeing you on the internet. I love seeing your faces. You're so cute. But the fact that you are able to get your family in a coordinated outfit in some fucking sepia tone light,
like in October.
print
Like you
it
did this
out.
in October.
You did this
How
in
do
October.
how do people have? I'm impressed and then insulted. That's the kind of the two-step process for me. How do you have the energy to do this? And then it makes me feel insufficient. But we put them on our fridge. But what I'm doing now, I'm just like taking last year's down and putting this year's on the fridge. It's like, I know what your cute family looks like. You don't have to do this. I do like getting it in the mail. But then I look at it once. Then it's like, all right, am I a monster for just throwing it directly in the recycling bin?
No,
No.
you're not. I haven't even taken mine out the mailbox yet. I'm going to do that today. Isn't that awful? Like, I kind of dread them now. It's like, oh, it makes me feel so
Wait, they're
inadequate.
still wait, back up. They're still in the
Right.
mailbox.
I still have some holiday cards in the mailbox. Like, it's a thing. I did it the first few years in Naima's life, and you know, they were random pictures too. Like, we never went to a studio. You know, I think they were just cute pictures that we had gotten, and we just don't get cute pictures of us. And like, being a single parent, it's hard. You know, I mean, I guess I could set up a tripod and try to take a picture of us or whatever, but it's just like, come on, like, I don't really need to be reminded that everyone else's family is perfect and mine is just hanging along by a string. And that's what I feel like every
Instagram mailed to you.
And I love the idea of getting your own family portraits taken. I think that's beautiful. But why do you have to go and share it with everyone?
Right. And all at the same
Egomaniacs. Just kidding.
and all at the same time of year.
Right.
Like,
And how are y'all
that's
wearing
annoying.
overalls?
How do y'all all have such cute little outfits? It's just so I have a friend who listens to the show who does a beautiful holiday card every year.
They're all
I don't
beautiful.
they're lovely. I don't want to make you feel bad or feel like I don't appreciate getting them. They're just a little bit, you know, a little jealousy inducing, if you will.
This is what you get on Slate Plus. You get the snark.
Yeah, you get. I do feel like the problem I have now is since we don't send one, I feel like we get them, and I like. I'm so crazy. As I say this now out loud, I'm crazy. When I get the holiday card, I email people. Thank you so much for your holiday card. It's so beautiful. like this. We're not sending one this year. We haven't sent one in years. Like, I don't want people to think like they were not on the list, you know, like that I sent them, but they didn't get one. I'm just like,
nobody got one.
Nobody got one.
You're a monster, Elizabeth.
All of this could have been fixed with an email. That's all I'm saying. This could have been an email.
In terms of trends, I do hope, and this is not a trend from 2022 per se, but, you know, going back to summer of 2020 and America's great racial reckoning, there is this, you know, widespread interest in talking to children about racism and bias. And I'm curious because I'm not really at this point in community with non-Black families. You know, I don't know how these conversations are going and how seriously people are continuing to take this stuff. But I am really hoping that remains a trend just because, you know, not a trend, but that just becomes a part of our society, and that talking to children from a young age about race and identity just becomes normalized. You know, far too many families, you know, take the easy way out, which is protecting their children from the discomfort of having to confront racism or privilege. And, you know, the consequences are, of course, high for those who don't have those privileges, who can't avoid those conversations. So I'm hoping that is still part of what, you know, parents are seeing as their duty.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, unfortunately, like with all things, the families that are doing it and took it seriously continue to do it, and the families that never thought it was important continue to not think it's important.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the easier it gets to talk about it. It doesn't fix the situation, but
yeah,
that's a good one. Let's hope for that.
Totally.
Again, a huge thank you to everyone who is a part of Slate Plus. Your support makes what we do here possible. If you want to join the club, sign up at slate.com/momanddadplus. That's our show. This episode of Mom and Dad Are Fighting is produced by Maura, Currie, and Rosemary Belson. Shasha Leonard is the voice of our listeners. Alicia Montgomery is the VP of Slate Audio. For Jamila Lemieux and Zach Rosen, I'm Elizabeth Newcamp. Thanks for listening.